Well, welcome back into the studio as we finish my 2025 art business planner, and this time we're working on the cover. So I have some wood numbers out because I wanted to create the date on the front of this. So I have pulled out some green Powertex Universal Medium and a brush that I have dedicated to my Powertex products. And I am brushing the green universal medium onto a really large wood number 2. And I'm pressing that onto some cardstock and creating the number 2 because I didn't have any of the thin number 2s, like you'll see the 0 and the 5 there, but I didn't have any 2s for that, and I needed 2 of those to create 2025. So I am pressing that in and creating the 2s that I do need. And then I'm going to coat the 0 and the 5 with the same universal medium. This is my favorite green, and it matches this planner beautifully. I'm going to put a second coat on the wooden pieces, and then I'm going to come in and fill in the number 2s a bit using just my brush directly on the paper. And then get those, once they're dry, I'm going to get those cut out. All right, so once I get those cut out, I'm going to start arranging them on the front of this cover to see how I want to add them to the front cover. I wasn't sure, I really felt like I had to go up and down because it wasn't wide enough for all these numbers, and I did want to have some distance between them, between each of the numbers. And vertically, it really worked out well, but I didn't want them directly on the cover. I felt like it needed something else between them, a layer. And what better thing to use than the fabric that is on the inside of the journal? I do have some of that left, so I felt that might be nice to display that as well on there. It went really well with the front cover anyhow. The colors it worked really well. And if you missed the making of the cover, I will link in the upper right hand corner to part 1 of the making of this art business planner. And since Powertex's universal medium is an adhesive, I figured, as well as a fabric hardener, I figured what better thing to use to adhere the fabric and the numbers to the cover. So I pulled out my transparent universal medium and brushed it all over the back, and then brushed the front with it, just really giving it a good coat of that universal medium. And then just added it to the front cover. And because that front cover was upholstery fabric, it really soaked up. So I went ahead and added some additional of the transparent universal medium. And then I'll adhere the numbers to that fabric. So I need to add on to my cover, and I want to put something along this edge. So I was thinking of doing a clay piece. So I'm going to use the Powersmooth from Powertex along with Universal Medium in Ivory. So that's what I'm going to do to just add some kind of focal on the side here. And if you're interested in learning more about the Powertex Powersmooth as a clay and other ways that you can use it, I do have a video all about Powersmooth, and I will link it up in the upper right hand corner. So I'm just mixing some of the powder with the universal medium. I'm just eyeballing it and getting it until it's a sticky clay, then taking it out of the plastic bin, I'm mixing it in, and then I'm going to start kneading it and keep adding some of the Powersmooth until it's not sticky any longer, so it's a nice clay. And this creates an air dry clay that is super smooth. All right, now that I have that mixed up, I'm going to break it into two segments and take one of them and wrap it in saran wrap and then put it in an airtight container. This clay will last for 6 months as long as it's in an airtight container. And then with the piece that's remaining, I'm going to flatten it out, make a shape and flatten it out a little bit. And I'm gonna then add some water on my finger and really get the surface super smooth. It's one of the beauties of Powersmooth. It can get really smooth. A lot of sculptures use this to make skin on their sculptures. So an arm that doesn't have any fabric on it, to make that the skin of the arm. And so it does get very smooth. And then I'm gonna take a foam stamp and I'm going to spritz it with some water and then press that foam stamp into the clay mixture and then pull it up afterwards. And so it's really important to keep your foam stamp moist until you have an opportunity to clean it out really well. You do not want Powertex to dry in your foam stamps. They'll never be the same. So while that is still wet, I am going to spray the surface of this clay piece using the Bister. It's a Powertex product called a Bister, and it is a walnut ink and pigment spray. It is water soluble. You can make these not water soluble. You should check out my Powertex introduction video and to find out all about the Powerfix. Powerfix will be releasing in May of 2025, so be on the lookout for that if you're interested in that information. But I'm going to get this sprayed with the mahogany, and then I'm going to come in and spray it with the water. And the reason I'm going to do that, because this is a recess, if I spray it with the water is going to desaturate the high areas and let the majority of the color pool in the recesses. And I love the way that that looks. So that's what I'm going to do here now. And I did have some of the clay that I had added to the ivory. I had added a little of the bronze universal medium. And I had pressed that out as well and done the same thing with an art foam stamp into this. And instead of the mahogany bistre, I used the brown bistre. And I just felt like this one was going to be too big for the cover, so I wasn't quite sure what I'd end up doing with this one. Alright, so these have dried, and I'm definitely not going to go with this. It just feels too big on here, whereas this one still has that vertical feel, and it matches really nicely. This one would match really nicely too, but I just think it's too big. And I considered doing a dry brush of the Color Tricks in the red pearl, but I just don't want, I want it to be kind of more natural. So my thought was maybe to bring in some of this and do something like that. I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac glue to adhere this piece of fabric down to the cover. It's great for fabric to fabric. I use it for a lot of other things. And any glue that squishes out, I'm going to use my skewer to pull that up because that will dry glossy and I don't want that peeking through. Now I'm going to change it up when I go to glue the clay piece on because it is heavier. I am going to use E6000 glue to glue that to the front. I had an idea to use this tassel to mark where I'm at in my planner. It's always been like I've been using clips on the planner that I've been using through 2024, and it's really cumbersome. And I thought this might be nice to have a built-in bookmark. So I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac to glue that down, and I'm just going to take the skewer and just squish it down into the binding. and that should hold it really well. It's nothing that's going to be tugged on or anything. So I need to get it lined up so that the bulky piece at the bottom of the tassel is beyond the pages. That'll be important. All right, so that should be adhered down. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. Yep, and there's the front. I love how floppy it is. So I'm all set for 2025 with my art business planner. Thank you for coming along.